The moment I realized my wife was lying to me, I was standing in the grocery store staring at a bruised apple. It sounds ridiculous, I know, how something so small and ordinary could split your world open, but that's how truth works. It hides in plain sight until it can't anymore. The apple was in our cart. Emma hated bruised fruit. She inspected everything she bought: milk cartons, cereal boxes, even eggshells. Yet somehow a bruised apple had slipped through? Well, not slipped. It wasn't hers. Someone else had put it there. Someone who had gone shopping with her. Someone who didn't know she hated bruised apples. That was the moment something inside me tightened. A string pulled taut across my chest, whispering something's wrong. I wish I had listened sooner. Want the change. Started subtly. Emma's late nights at the marketing firm. Her sudden obsession with going to the gym, even though she'd always said treadmills felt like slow-motion torture. Her new perfume. Stronger, sharper, not the soft vanilla she used to love. One night, I heard her laughing in the bathroom. Laughing. At 11:47 p.m., sitting on the closed toilet seat, whispering into her phone like a teenager sneaking a call after curfew. When I asked who it was, she shrugged, barely looking up. Just a colleague. We're on a deadline. But people don't laugh like that with colleagues. They laugh like that with someone who makes them feel alive. Or someone who makes them feel something they're not supposed to. 2. The photograph. The day I discovered her affair, the sky was unreasonably bright. One of those painfully blue afternoons that made everything feel too sharp and too clear. I was cleaning the living room, gathering stray receipts, wrappers, and scraps of her hurried mornings, when something slid out of the pages of her planner. Photograph. Candid one. Emma standing too close to a man I didn't know. Her hand on his chest. His hand on her waist. Their faces inches apart. It wasn't a kiss. But it was worse. It was intimate. Familiar. The kind of closeness you build slowly, deliberately. My throat tightened so hard I almost choked. I must have stood there for 20 minutes, staring at that photo, feeling the edges dig into my fingers. My pulse was loud enough to drown out the sound of traffic outside. When she came home that evening, I placed the photo on the counter. Want to explain this? Yes. Her eyes flicked to the photo, and in that fraction of a second I saw everything. Recognition, guilt, regret, fear, and something even worse than betrayal. Relief. She exhaled, long and shaky, like she had been waiting for this moment. Like carrying the lie had become heavier than the truth. His name is Daniel, she whispered. And yes, I'm so sorry. That should have been the worst part. It wasn't. 3. The conversation that broke us. We sat at opposite ends of the couch like strangers forced into the same space. How long? Asked. 3 months. Why? She swallowed hard. Her hands trembled. I don't know. I didn't plan it. Just felt lonely. And when you were working so much. I was working to support us. You said you understood that. I did. But understanding doesn't erase feelings. Her voice cracked. We haven't been okay for a long time, Mark. Blinked stunned. So instead of telling me you found someone else? It wasn't like that. It just happened. Nothing just happens. Not betrayal. Not intimacy. Not 3 months of lies. And the photograph. Why keep it? I didn't mean to. I forgot it was there. That stung worse than the affair. She didn't cherish it. She didn't hide it. She simply forgot. Like it meant something to her, something big, while I was becoming something small. For the second blow. I slept on the couch that night, not because she asked me to, but because I couldn't stand the thought of sharing the same bed with her. I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying every moment from the last few months. Every late night. Every excuse. Every laugh that wasn't for me. In the morning, she sat across from me at the dining table, eyes red and swollen. There's something else, she said quietly. My stomach dropped. What else? She hesitated, then slid a manila envelope across the table. A medical logo was printed in the corner. My fingers hovered over it. What is this? Just open it. I did. Lab results, blood tests, imaging reports. A diagnosis circled in bright green ink. Stage 2 ovarian cancer. The world tilted sideways. I found out 2 weeks ago, she whispered. I didn't know how to tell you. My mouth opened but no sound came out. Cancer. Not a cold. Not exhaustion. Not stress. Cancer. My wife, the woman who had betrayed me, was sick. Very sick. I met Daniel at the clinic, she continued, voice shaking. He was there with his mother. I was terrified and he just listened. I didn't mean for anything to happen. I swear, Mark, I didn't. I just needed to feel like I wasn't dying. She broke then, completely, sobbing into her hands. And in that moment, I felt something I didn't expect. Anger, yes, but also grief, fear, love, and an unbearable confusion that tore at me from every angle. How do you hate someone who's hurting? How do you comfort someone who destroyed you? How do you hold someone together when you're falling apart yourself? 5. The choice. For days I didn't speak to her. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I didn't know how to exist anymore. My marriage wasn't what I thought it was. My wife wasn't who I thought she was. And now she might be taken from me forever. One night, I found her sitting alone on the bathroom floor, knees pulled to her chest. She looked so small. I understand if you want to leave, she whispered. I would. I deserve it. But that was the thing. She didn't deserve cancer. No one does. And for better or worse, despite everything, I still loved her. I'm not leaving, I said quietly. Not right now. Her breath hitched. She looked up. But things won't go back to what they were, I continued. We'll get you through treatment. We'll take this one day at a time. But I can't promise what happens after. She nodded slowly, tears running down her cheeks. I understand. 6. The hardest months. Chemotherapy stole pieces of her. Her hair, her appetite, her strength, but it also stripped away the walls between us. We talked more in those months than we had in years. Some conversations were painful, some healing. Some nights, she apologized until her voice broke. Some nights, I forgave her a little. And some nights I couldn't. There were moments I hated her and moments I held her because I couldn't stand to see her suffer. Love is complicated like that. So is betrayal. So is forgiveness. 7. The ending we didn't expect. 7 months later, after her final scan, we sat in the same cold exam room where she'd first received her diagnosis. The doctor walked in, smiled, and said the words we'd been holding our breath for. The cancer is in remission. Emma sobbed into my chest. Relief washed over both of us in a wave so strong it almost hurt. But here's the thing. Her cancer went into remission. Our marriage didn't. 3 weeks after the good news, she sat me down and said softly, "It's time to let each other go." He nodded. We both knew it. We'd survived something enormous together. We'd shared pain, fear, and hope. But the foundation had cracks that no amount of love or illness could fully repair. She moved out 2 months later. We hugged in the driveway, a long, trembling embrace filled with gratitude, sorrow, and the ghost of what once was. "I'll always be thankful for you," she whispered. "And I'll always care about you," I replied. And then she left. What was truly devastating? People think the devastating part was discovering her affair. It wasn't. The real devastation was realizing this. Sometimes love isn't enough to save a marriage. Sometimes forgiveness isn't enough to rebuild trust. And sometimes the person you would have fought the world for is someone you eventually have to learn to live without. But even now, when the nights get quiet, I can still taste that moment in the grocery store. The bruised apple, and the way everything changed afterward. How one small thing became the beginning of the end. And, strangely, the beginning of something else. Painful truth. Painful freedom. A painful but necessary rebirth. And that, I suppose,